Hi guys. So Sir William Cash, what a fantastic name, is in Parliament, and he's not understanding Brexit and he's not understanding the negotiations. So let's hear what he has to say.
We left not a minute too late in leaving the European Union. The government, in its command paper by the end of June, presents the opportunity for outline of an agreement capable of being finalised rapidly by September, and if not, the government have said that it would need to decide if the UK would intend to move away from negotiating and focus solely on exiting the transition period in an orderly fashion.
Okay, what the hell does that mean? So he said the government will move away from negotiating and exit the transition period in an orderly fashion. Please, somebody tell me what the hell that means, because the transition period is for you to negotiate in. The idea of the transition period is so that you can negotiate a deal after you leave. So how the hell do you not negotiate a deal but leave the transition period in an orderly fashion? What the hell? Does he even understand the words he's saying? Because they don't make any sense. They don't make any sense to me. Maybe they make sense to someone else. But how do you leave the transition period in an orderly fashion when the transition period was designed to negotiate in? And you, at the same time, you're saying that you're not going to negotiate.
Recent correspondence between our chief negotiator David Frost and his counterpart Michel Barnier indicates that there is no real progress in the negotiations because the EU is invariably asking for the impossible, and as correctly indicated by Mr. David Frost, the EU is not offering a fair free trade relationship but a low-quality trade agreement with unprecedented oversight of our laws and institutions.
Why are you talking about this now? The EU has laid out on the table its negotiating stance, its negotiating position, months ago. And now you're talking about, oh, they're being impossible and they're demanding too much and we can't deal with them. Why are you doing this now? Have you not read the negotiating position from the EU? Have you not read what they have said, that they're the positions that they're going to take? Why are you, this is like somebody who hasn't read the paper and then 6 months later complains about what's in the paper. I really don't, maybe I'm missing something, but the EU laid it out on the table very clearly. This is our negotiating position. And he's saying that they're being impossible.
He is, of course, right, and our vital national interests, which derive from our democracy and self-government, which is what this debate is about, are paramount.
Yeah, like, your sovereignty was never an issue. And what has this got to do with democracy? Actually, the EU it could be argued that the European Parliament is more democratic than the House of Commons, because in the European Parliament there is proportional representation, while in the House of Commons there is first past the post, which is less democratic.
I was extremely glad to hear the Leader of the House this very afternoon, when at business questions, on the question of the extension of the transitional period, he used the hallowed words of the late Margaret Thatcher. No, no, no. And I'm delighted again to hear similar sentiments expressed by the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster.
Why are you so relieved? You won. Boris Johnson has a majority in Parliament. Brexit is complete. Brexit is done. All that's left is to exit the transition period. Why are these people so nervous? I don't understand. They have won everything. I also don't understand why Brexiteers are always so angry all the time. They won. You've left. Why are they acting as if there is some hidden threat? Or maybe he's going to talk about that.
Even this afternoon. Any extension of the transition period for which Mr. Michel Barnier is outrageously trying to seduce Remainers would simply prolong negotiations, as David Frost stated, would create more uncertainty, leaving us paying far more to the EU and binding us to EU laws when we have democratically and lawfully decided to leave the EU by our own sovereign decision and our own sovereign legislation.
Okay, so I thought a minute ago you said that we weren't sovereign until we leave the European Union. Now you're saying we decided in a sovereign way. So either he hasn't read his own document, his own papers here, or he's just trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. But also this issue of, well, we don't want the Remainers to throw a spanner in the works, and we know that Michel Barnier is trying to seduce the Remainers. First of all, Michel Barnier has no influence, or almost no influence, or zero influence in the UK, in decision making, in policy, or anything like that. And second, the Remainer parties, the Labour Party, if you call them Remainers, Liberal Democrats, Greens, SNP, am I missing any? They have no power at the moment. You have a huge majority in Parliament, and you're acting as if you're in the opposition. You're acting as if your majority is on a knife edge. This is something I really don't understand about Brexiteers. They're always acting as if they are the victim, that someone is going to come and take their gift away from them, and they have to react like an angry dog.
As to the Labour amendment to this motion, it completely turns the purpose of the good faith and best endeavours clause in the withdrawal agreement 184, which places an obligation on the EU to enshrine European sovereignty, on its head. The amendment would effectively therefore betray this, and with it the democratic will of the British electorate. I do urge the government, in conclusion, Madam Deputy Speaker, to review the Northern Ireland Protocol, which raises concerns about EU law and European Court jurisdiction and the status of Northern Ireland. I look to the government to ensure that the whole of the United Kingdom leaves on our own terms, because our sovereignty and self-government is an absolute bulwark of our freedom and our democracy.
Okay, just complete another crap here. Okay, if you cared so much about Northern Ireland, then why did Boris Johnson's government agree to put a border in the Irish Sea? You can't blame the Remainers for that. You can't blame the EU for that. Boris Johnson's government decided that. They agreed to that. So you can talk all you want about sovereignty and protecting the UK and putting democracy and all of this first. But Boris Johnson made those decisions. Boris Johnson signed the political declaration. At the end of the day, you can't blame the EU for decisions that the British government has taken and your own Prime Minister has taken. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. But once again, we have another Brexiteer MP just performing political theatre. I don't really see any value in what he has said. Why not become a Patreon and enjoy access to our Discord server where we share news, chat, and have some fun. If you become a patron, you can also make video suggestions on topics that are important to you. Check it out via the link in the description.